Hello, howdy, folks. This is Jim Tremaine from DJ Times Magazine. For the last few weeks, we have hopscotched North America with visits to Canada and Mexico. But today, we connect with one of the best known talents in South America as we head to Sao Paulo, Brazil to visit with Mr. Bruno Martini. I'm going to give you a proper intro, Bruno, so bear with me for a second. Bruno is a multi-talented musician who's also a DJ producer. He broke out big in 2016 with Hear Me Now, a collab with Elok featuring Ziva that rang up 500 million streams. He followed up with three more singles that hit gold or platinum status, and he successfully hit the festival circuit afterwards. In late 2020, he delivered another pop gem, Bend the Knee, a collab with legendary producer Timbaland featuring Isa. And this year, he's released his debut artist album titled Original on Universal Music. Please welcome Bruno Martini. Oi, Bruno, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that's the extent of my Portuguese. I know how to say hello and I know how to say beer, but it's that's the important stuff, right?
Yeah. Have you ever been to Brazil?
I have not. I've only been in South America. I've only been to Argentina, and I understand there's a bit of a football rivalry between the two countries.
Exactly. Somebody says like Pelé is better than Maradona. Argentina says Maradona is better than Pelé. But we are Brazilian, so we go full force for Pelé.
Yeah, I understand. My favorite Brazilian footballer was a guy named Socrates, and I just liked his name.
Yeah. Well, it happens.
Absolutely. So let's get into the music and your very, very interesting career. Where did your love of music begin? What were you listening to when you thought, I want to pursue this?
Man, it's so like I've been working with music for like 12 years already, but it all started because of my dad, because my dad is also a musician, so guitar, and he has a pretty successful band. He used to do like a lot of like Euro dance from 90s. The band is called W. They did like they had a huge hit called Please Go. Babe, I love track.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so my dad, they did this song in the 90s. So I was born, around musicians and artists around me. And my dad is also a musician, so he has a guitar collection. When I was young, I used to, steal his guitar and, try to play the guitar. And the first band he showed me was Deep Purple. So I started to go full force for classic rock. Let's see my rock band. I used to have a garage band when back in school. And then when I was like 13, 14 years old, I wanted to like start making my own music. So I met a girl called Maida, but she came to Brazil, and we met when I was like 13, and she was 14, I think. And then we started like making music together. And then totally out of the blue, when I was like 15, recorded a CD with a lot of demos, only guitar. And then I went to, and then I have a cousin who lives in Miami. And then I went to a dinner together with this audio engineer, and I gave him the CD because I wanted him to mix my tracks. He used the Yanni. I don't know if you know Yanni. He's a musician.
The Greek composer, yeah.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, the manager from Ian, he heard my tracks totally out of the blue, and he loved it. And he said, "Hey, you guys want to work for Disney?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." So he brought my CD to Disney, and I was like 15 years old. My dad was like blowing his mind away because he didn't actually believe it. Like he was like, "What? You're gonna work for Disney?" And then I started,
Right.
professional. I signed my first contract when I was 15 with Disney. And then I started working with them for 8 years. And then I left. And I was like, because I wanted to, release my own project. I wanted to, so there was a time I decided to quit Disney.
Right, but you were prepared for the moment when your break happened. You had the music, you had the goods, you had the songs. So when the right person heard your music, you were able to step up and move to the next level.
Yeah, like man, I did a lot of things already, but I think for me, the moment that I left was really, I step up. I still work for Disney. Like I make some tracks for them sometimes, work for TV shows. I do some music for movies and stuff like that. But I've been a fan of music and I want my own project. So I decided to quit them. This song called Hear Me Now. I met Zibo, which is a singer. He came to my studio and then we spent like 1 year making music. And to be honest, I had no idea like what I was gonna do with my life. I just keep doing music. And then Alok was like starting his career in Brazil. Like he was getting successful here, and he was like, "Hey, I just signed a deal with Spinning. Do you guys want to release this song with me?" And man, that was fun because I had nothing, not even me, not even Ziba, and I was like, "Yeah, let's release Hear Me Now," and he was like, "Yeah, but how should we call you? Like what's your artist name?" And I was like, yeah, just put my name. That's Bruno Martini, and it's Marco Ziba, but take the Marcos out. It's gonna be Ziba. Then we dropped this track out. This track was like pretty successful, and then everything started to happen.
Very successful. And how does a guy go from listening to Smoke on the Water and Led Zeppelin to electronic dance music? How did that happen?
Well, oh man, like I've been, I I love music in general. Like I try, of course, I work more with electronic music. But my dad is a musician, so I love good music. I listen to everything on my Spotify or whatever it is, Apple Music. I listen to any. I don't have any like I do electronic music, so I only listen to electronic music. No, I was born with my dad. Like he got a lot of vinyls and CDs where I used to listen to Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin. But my dad also like listened to a lot of electronic music, and he used to work with a lot of DJs. So a lot of DJs used to come to his studio, and I was a kid, so I was around, and I think it just was a normal process like of life. So I started with the rock. So I after Timbaland, when I was 15, 16 years old, I used to listen to Timbaland like, all the way, because he was like really through. So and then I discovered it when I was 16, 17, and then I totally fell in love. Starting to go to festivals, to clubs. And then I fell in love with the DJ life.
So what was the scene, the club scene and the festival scene in Brazil like when you were going out and seeing these events?
That we used to have a lot of clubs. I live in São Paulo. There's a big city here. Uh, so we used to have a lot of clubs here, a lot of night. Nowadays, we don't have. Well, of course, we are in the middle of the Corona thing, but we don't have any clubs anymore. We don't have many clubs. But the Brazil thing, it's really interesting. We used to have, the promoters used to hire a lot of international DJs to come to festivals and clubs. But in the back, like in the last 3 years, they prefer to hire the Brazilian DJs and DJs because we had high for us. So they started to hire a lot of Brazilian DJs, and the electronic scene in Brazil like just grew up a lot. And we kind of created our own style of music here. They used to call Brazilian bass, but nowadays people are calling like a sound that we created here because we started like with Alok. There's a lot of pretty successful DJs here, like Alok, Vintage Culture, like Dev Dogs, Cat Dealers, me, and like we kind of create a new sound, this the sound that we're doing here, So the
Okay.
Brazilian DJs get really like popular here now.
So before we start to discuss what you use in the studio, I want to ask you a little bit about DJing and what is your setup when you play live? What do you prefer to spin music on?
Uh, I used the normal Pioneer CDJ. You know, uh, I was a, a life changing for me when I started learning record box because it's really helpful. Uh, but I basically like I go for the Nexus, the CDJ Pioneer.
Hmm. Standard issue, right? And when
Yeah.
you go out and you see a DJ, when you hear a DJ, what are you listening for? Do you want a DJ that is technical? Do you like a DJ who just plays the hits? What impresses Bruno Martini?
Yeah, I think it depends. Like, I mean, I like to party, so it depends with the people that I am around. I like to any type of music, as I said before, but if I to listen to solo or the vibes, saying a bit different than I do, so I can learn also with them. So I'm always looking for something new, or something different.
Okay. Yeah, Solomon is terrific. In fact, we just did a story on him. He's going to be in an upcoming cover of DJ Times. So let's go a little bit to the way that you create music because you seem to have a real gift for melody. Does that come from your more traditional musical background? Do you bring the melodies to the songs, or is it always a collaboration?
Yeah, like I have my own studio and I can play the instruments. So I create my own music, and I think the melody stuff, that's something I wanted to do. Like when I did Hear Me Now, I wanted to bring the Brazilian bass sound that was really rough in the beginning created here. That was like basically only kick, snare, and bass. That was it. And then I wanted to do that in a different way. So I think the Brazilian bass sound, which was really set, and add some melody on it. So there's, uh, Hear Me Now, like we created Hear Me Now with that thing. So we got the basics of the kick snare, the bass line. So I recorded some guitars on it, some piano on it, and we created a new sound. So like I think after that, like a lot of people in Brazil also like started to use a lot of melody here. So I think for me it's just a normal process to put. I play piano, I play the guitar, so I like to try different stuff and create some melodies, and I like that.
A lot of times DJ producers don't have the deep background in music that somebody like you has. Um, do you run the music by another DJ, or do you play your own music to a live audience to get an idea if it connects, or can you just tell when you listen to the playback the first time?
Yeah, can you repeat? It's cutting.
So some DJs have to play the music that they create for an audience before they believe in the music. Do you have to do
Okay.
that, or are you just fine with it in the studio? Do you not have to play it for a live audience?
Yeah, I think like it's always like, especially for electronic music, like we live with the energy, So clubs are really like for me it are really important to create my sound. But also like for me, I like sometimes when I do like a more like a commercial track or more it's a pop record, I do that version, but also I do my club version. It's
Mhm.
not, and the thing is, it's not every time that I release the club version, because I wanted also to come to my show, and then with the version they can be like be unique, So I do my own versions of my pop records, and when I do more like into club stuff, so I like to try out, So every time I do more like club records or records, I always like to try out because before I release, I like to play out, to see the people reaction, to see the crowd reaction. I think it's really important.
So let's talk a little bit about your collaboration with Timbaland. I know you've done some things with him. He was a real inspiration for you originally, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people.
Sure. So let's talk a little bit about Bend the Knee. How did that one come together? Who brought what to that song?
Man, like Timbaland, for me, working with him, that was a dream come true. Like when I was 15, 16 years old, when I started making music, he was my inspiration. Like I used to hear to his music, and I was like, man, want to work with this guy, because me and all my friends, we used to listen to Timbaland like all the time. Timbaland's productions, like Justin Timberlake, Jay-Z, Beyonce. We used to listen to his music like all the time, and I always had a dream to work with him. And that was just totally out of the blue. Like his team reached out through a really good friend of mine called David Brady. They reached out to him because I work with David. They reached out to him and like, hey, I loved Bruno's work. Do you know if he has more tracks that he's working on or something like that? So when I saw that email, like I was like, what? This is Timbaland asking me to, like send him tracks. So I sent him a couple of tracks, a couple of songs that I was working on, and he loved it. And he was like, "Hey, let's go to Los Angeles and make some music." So I spent like 10 days together with him, almost 10 days together with him in the studio and making music. And I brought Bainani, I was doing this track and I showed him. So he listened to the record. So he comes, he starts singing on it, and that was really like fun to spend some time with Timbaland on the studio. That was a really life changing for me.
Did you learn anything from him, from working with him? Did you take anything from
Uh,
the way that he approaches? Give me an
a
example.
lot. I think the greatest thing that I saw it was like to see a guy like Timbaland, like that was me in the studio. I was, I think, 20. Was another producer from Mexico. Was my age, and Timbaland, he's already a legendary producer. He doesn't actually need it to be with us, to be honest. But he was there, like learning and trying to learn the new technology or the new way to make music or whatever. He was learning, and that was for me like, so what? I came here to learn from Timbaland, but he always like trying to do something different, learn the new things, know, trying to find new sounds, trying to see tease the new, sounds that people are using it. So he always to improve himself and to see the love that he has for music. That was completely like a life changing for me. When I saw him, like the way he is, with the all successful that he has in life, he has everything, but he's there not for that. He's there because of the love of the music. You can see like my conversation with him was everything through music. When you play something for him, he completely like if he likes it, he start dancing and he start, yeah, that's it. Now that he's passionate.
That's great. Let's talk a little bit about the album as well. Original has a lot of different sounds on it. Talk a little bit about your approach to this album and what you wanted to accomplish with it.
Like I always had a dream to release an album. Of course, a lot of people like they work, especially in the electronic music, they work with singles and stuff like that. But I always had a dream to release my own album. So it's something. Also, after I had the session with Timbaland, I came back to my country, and I had like 5, 6 songs that we did together, and I was like, man, this is so special that I don't want to just to put out as a single, tell the story behind it. I want to put more about it. The whole concept started with the session that I had with Timbaland. So that was like a moment for me that was like, man, this is this is special. So I wanna sorry, and I wanna for the first time release my album. So I think album it's like it connects more with the fans, so the fans can know more about you and what do you do, what do you like to hear, what do you like to do, and my album is called Original, telling a lot of stories about myself through melodies, through lyrics. So and to be honest, it's not really focused in electronic music because, as I said before, like I like music in general. So I try to be really original to myself, and make that I really like. And also there's a lot of influences from my whole life. So there's a bit of hip hop, a bit of rock and roll, of course, electronic music. So I try to make something that really tells a story about my life.
You have a lot of collaborations and featured vocalists. How do you decide who to work with on a particular song?
Yeah, I think. Uh, I mean, it depends on the track. It depends on the lyrics, the song. But like I said, when I came back to Brazil after working with Timbaland, like we had this track Bend the Knee, and I also wanted to have to give the opportunity for some artists from my country always to also having tracks that can be more like international sound wise, not only tracks for Brazil. So my idea also was to get some big artists from Brazil to sing on those records, So like, it happens, like it depends on the track, but Benani, I wanted to have a powerful voice, a power voice. So Isa is a big star here in Brazil, and I wanted to reach her and tell her the story behind the track so she can be part of it. And I sent her the track, and she blowing away. She was like, "Man, I really want to record this because it makes sense for her." Also, when I send track to artists, I try to send something that makes sense for the artist also.
Mhm.
So that the lyrics behind Bendini makes sense for Isa, it makes sense for her also. So, and I think that's it. But the good thing about my album is that all the collaborations happen so like uh, easy, and how can I say that? But so easy, I think that's the right word. But like all the artists
Mhm.
wanted to be part of it, And also for those artists like Isa, she's a big star in Brazil, but maybe she doesn't. She's starting her international career right now. But so I think for her, also having a track with me and Timbaland, that was a good thing for her. Also to try different, different sounds, different genres like that, and also have more like international approach.
Let's talk a little bit about your studio and when you're making demos, when you're putting ideas down. What gear and programs do you use? For example, what DAW do you use in your studio?
I use Pro Tools. I don't think many people use Pro Tools, but I do. I do still
Yeah.
using Pro Tools.
Okay. Any particular monitors? Any particular vintage gear that you have?
Man, I use everyone a lot. I have Avenger. Well, I do. I have Valhalla as reverb. I mean, to be honest. I like to find different sounds all the time. So I always like to, like when I start a music or a song, I like to search for new stuff. So I'm always online searching for sounds and searching for different stuff because I think that's what motivates me to do new things. So I'm always looking for something new. I always do presets. I always buy new samples, because I wanted to always keep improving myself and also like work on the music. So if I'm working on the music like asks you something to do. So I try to give the music what.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit also about different markets. You obviously are from Brazil, where a lot of people speak Portuguese. South America, a lot of people speak Spanish. You're also making dents in the United States, where a lot of people speak English and Spanish. How do you know what language you want to put a song in?
That's funny. Like, that's a funny question, but I mean, English is a world language. So every place I go, I only speak English because people understand you. And that's the thing that we have in Portuguese. Like, not many countries speak Portuguese. So when I do, like, but I also want to represent my country. So when I'm in Brazil, I like to do some songs in Portuguese also because
Mhm.
it's important. It is important important for me and for the fans in Brazil. I'm doing like some Portuguese songs, but I know like if I do a Portuguese song, it's hard to have a like international approach because people don't understand Portuguese. Not many countries speak Portuguese as English. Like a lot of countries speak English or understands English. So I think that's why like I do more like English songs because I play all over the world in a lot of festivals. So it makes sense for me to work more with the English. You know.
Okay. So before we wrap this up, I want to ask you a couple of questions about places that you've played. What are your favorite clubs, or what are your favorite festivals where you now this is before the pandemic, of course, but give me a couple of clubs and festivals that you love to play.
Yeah, I love playing Mexico. Like I have such a connection with the Mexico fans. So I play on EDC Mexico once. That was amazing. I play in the main stage. I think it was at 6 o'clock. That was so fun. And also like Chile. I performed in Greenfield, Chile. That was amazing because Chile fans like they can go really wild. Like they party a lot. But there's a lot of, I mean, Tomorrowland in Belgium is, of course, is one of my top three festivals. I played in Macedonia. That was pretty amazing. I played in New York Electric Zoo. That was pretty nice. EDC Las Vegas. That was nice. So I think every festival and every country has his kind of particular way and particular different things, but you know it's different. It's really hard for me to pick one, but it's always different because the culture is always different.
Yeah, people party differently in different countries, that's for sure. So during the pandemic, I'm assuming that you were in the studio a lot. How have you gotten through this whole situation? I know Brazil has had a difficult time. How have you survived through it?
Well, this whole thing, to be honest, I know COVID is really bad, but that was a really good moment for me, in the first 3 or 4 months to spend more time in my house, also together with my family. I could spend more time with them. Life can go really crazy because I used to have shows from Thursday to Sunday, so I don't have many times to usually we don't have much time to spend in our house with our family and friends. So that was a good thing in the beginning. In the show so much, I miss performing live. Like last Saturday, I went to the bed, and I was like, man, this it feels weird. I was started seeing the festivals videos on my cell phone, and if it's so far from now, like it doesn't even look like me. I was like, really, that I did this. But the good thing about this whole thing is that I have my own studio really close from my house. It's a different house, and my studio, only me goes there, so it's only me, myself, and I here. So I keep coming to the studio really often and making music. I think that was the thing that helped me to pass through it.
Okay. And for the rest of 2021, I'm assuming you have some more singles coming from the record. What do we have to look forward to from Bruno Martini?
Man, I did a remix for Lady Gaga called 911. It was pretty amazing. I'm working with a big artist. I think we're about to drop a really big single. Not I cannot say which artist it is, but uh, it's a really exciting thing that I'm working on. My new album, so of course we're gonna keep working on the album. But man, I have so much music, and because I've been stuck in my studio and I'm working on different, trying to create new sounds and try to explore my studio. Also, as I said before, not really into electronic music, but try different genres and try different stuff. Try to make like music that I never did before. Just try to explore myself like into the sounds and into the music. So I think people are gonna get really surprised with what I have to release what I have upcoming next.
And I'll bet you can't wait to get back on stage.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to get back on the stage.
Okay. We're looking forward to a big
really getting tough now.
No, absolutely. Like a lot of the DJs we've been talking to, they're itching to get back on stage. So we're looking forward to a big 2021 from Bruno Martini. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Bruno, thanks so much for doing this all the way from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Thank you so much. Bruno Martini, the album is original and it's on Universal Music. He'll be playing Electric Zoo in New York City on September 3rd. And so we encourage everybody to come out and enjoy his music and give it a listen. Thanks, Bruno.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.